If the tree was physical, why did eating its fruit produce something as profound as spiritual knowledge? Was Adam and Eve eating a fruit or crossing a spiritual boundary? Revelation shall be uncovered. If the tree was physical, why did eating its fruit produce something as profound as spiritual knowledge?
But its significance is not merely physical. Many preachers believe that the tree functions as a physical sign
of a spiritual and theological, whether humanity would trust God's definition of good and evil or seize that authority for itself.
Genesis 2:9 places the tree among the trees in Eden, while Genesis 2:16-17 explicitly. Genesis 3:6 likewise describes Eve seeing the tree, taking its fruit, and eating it. On the surface of the narrative,
therefore, the tree is presented as physical. But the Bible does not say that the tree itself was spiritual, in the sense of being an invisible spiritual object. What appears spiritual is the revelation behind it. Several scholarly interpretations exist for knowledge of good and evil, including moral discernment, wisdom, or maturity,
comprehensive knowledge, and the capacity to determine or administer what is good and bad. Some analyses particularly interpret the tree as representing the choice between receiving wisdom from God and taking the authority to define good and bad for oneself. Today, the revelation behind the real identity of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil shall be revealed. If you agree with me from my former videos that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil represents the serpent in Genesis 2:17, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, chapter 12, verse 9, is not a physical tree. The revelation is that Satan represents an angelic being, one of the fallen angels, a spiritual being,
and not a physical tree. At the time God commanded Adam, Satan was invisible in the garden, but he later showed up to deceive Eve. In Genesis 2:9, the Bible says, "The tree in the midst of the garden, which is of the knowledge of good and evil," that represents Satan, the serpent, or that old serpent. In Genesis 2:16-17, the tree God commanded Adam not to eat was entirely different from the other physical trees.
In the Garden of Eden, bearing different kinds of fruits. If you agree with me that the serpent that deceived Eve was Satan, called that old serpent in the book of Revelation, then the serpent in Genesis is Satan himself. In conclusion, by revelation, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is not a physical tree. The serpent is not a snake coiled to the tree. It is Satan, the spiritual tree that deceives mankind. Like, share, and subscribe.
Shalom. Shalom was the tree of knowledge and